Los Angeles fire survivor is told that their State Farm's $900,000 check is on hold due to insufficient funds. Oh, could you imagine? Yeah, when's my $900,000 check gonna clear so I can start rebuilding my life? We're not sure if it is. State Farm has insufficient funds within our financial institution. Let's get into it. Here we go. So I ran this story along with story of, and we'll talk about this also, State Farm to raise Illinois homeowners insurance rates by 27.2%. I'm kind of running both of these stories in a combo pack because it's State Farm and it's State Farm. So let's check out this one. This one, to me, this could either be a one-off or, whatever. There's a bunch of money coming through and you had one of the, like I said in the other podcast, there's probably all kinds of financial stuff going through at once because you've got so many thousands of claims from the wildfires in California. You got money going back and forth. I mean, just crazy. So is it an insolvency issue? Or is it just at that point in time, XYZ amount of money going out, XYZ amount of money coming in? Was it one of those deals? Either which way, if State Farm indicates they don't have sufficient funds, that's something to talk about. Let's read the story. Amelia McDonald couldn't believe her ears. She'd been navigating what she calls a horrible experience. Oh, having your home burned down. Yep, that's terrible. Awful. I couldn't imagine. Trying to get her claims paid by State Farm after the Eaton fire burned down her Altadena home and ranch in January. And that is an area that is not as expensive. It's more diverse and it's not as expensive as the Pacific Palisades, but it's kind of, it's geographically very close and it's part of those fires. And so this individual, she, along with her father, daughter, and the goats that survived the fire, goats, have been displaced since then. They're not in their house because their house burned down, right? Now it's $876,354.07. Good thing they got that 7 cents in there because, what are you going to do without that extra 7 pennies or maybe a nickel and 2 pennies? The insurer wrote her wouldn't clear. McDonald called the check hold department of her bank, Chase, Tuesday, asking why the funds from the check she deposited on June 30th were not available more than a week later. She said someone there told her it was because State Farm, the state's largest property insurer, had insufficient funds. Imagine being on the end of that call. I'm sorry. Banging on the phone, old school style. Did you say insufficient funds? State Farm has insufficient funds? If you heard that, if I heard that, it's like, all right, I've got Allstate and a bunch of policies. Yeah, that whole check thing that we gave you, you're just going to have to sit on that for a little bit because we don't have the money. I'd go ballistic. It's like, well, then why do I have insurance? Isn't that what this is for? Yeah, we've been paying out a lot. Not my problem. I signed a contract. You insure my stuff. My stuff takes a hit, like a fire burning it all up. You need to hold up your end of the bargain. Oh, I don't have the money. Perfect. So asking why the funds from the check she deposited on June 30th were not available more than a week later. Insufficient funds. And he told her the account had a negative balance. Oh, that is just what you want to hear. All right. And so they've overdrawn their account. I hope they have overdraft insurance from an insurance to insurance. She called the same department today, which was July 10th. And reached someone who told her he expected the check to finally clear. Oh, that's good news, right? This is kind of one of those, oh, hey now, that's not good. When you hear on a run on a bank, right? This is a run on an insurance company because they're paying out so much money. And at some point in time, it would not shock me if Allstate, State Farm kind of put a hold on the amount of of insurance that they're paying out. That would not surprise me, because if they're having this issue here and the funds have been on hold for a week, you're going to have bigger problems down the road, because they are literally just getting through all of these policies that they have for these crazy things going on. Now you've got, the flooding down in Texas. That's not going to be nearly the amount of damage as California. But insurance companies, they got to pay. Story goes on to say, it's just stunning, McDonald told Cal Matters. I'm an insurance defense attorney. I've been working for insurance companies for more than 20 years. I've never had a check bounce to a claimant in 25 years of practice. Well, what I'd say there is there's always a first time for everything, right? Could you imagine? I'm sorry. What are you talking about? That is such a idiotic thing. There's no way. Yep. Welcome to 2025 and insurance practice in general. State Farm is the largest property insurer in California. It said Monday in an update on its website. It's paid out more than $4.2 billion on almost 13,000 claims from the LA County fires. I really hope they're not in so much trouble, McDonald said. Then we're all in trouble. Well, if they're in trouble, everybody's in trouble, period. Right? If they don't have the funds, if they've got massive amounts of funding coming in, going out, if they're that thin, then they're in trouble. And that's what this is all about. That is why they've been trying to pull out from California, trying to pull out from Texas, trying to pull out from Florida, all those high-risk areas. And then you got Utah, and you got a bunch of states where you're like, wow, this is insanity. Because this storyline is going everywhere, right? After review on our end, we see no indication. This is corporate speak. After review on our end, we see no indication why the bank would not release the funds to our customer. Other than the fact you didn't have enough money in that account. How about that? And the bank said, no, it's got a negative balance. That doesn't sound like a mistake, does it? No, I'm sorry, ma'am. That's negative balance in that account, and your check isn't going to clear until we don't know. State Farm spokesperson said in an emailed statement to Cal Matters, State Farm would not talk about McDonald's interactions or the allegations about insufficient funds. Why would they? Because that would be transparency. And we're not doing transparency. Again, it's 2025. We just do whatever we want and whatever. July 10th, the day after this story is published, State Farm spokesperson Tom Hartman emailed Cal Matters a written statement. State Farm General had and continues to have the funds available to meet our commitments to customers. Well, kinda. Oh, what were the shenanigans on this one then? What'd you have going on? Oh, what happened? Well, we don't really want to get into that. Okay, I feel better. We can't speculate on what the bank may have said to our customer or its processes regarding the release of funds. Well, there's something going on here. It's just a little issue of, biggest insurance company around having, insolvency issues. Earlier this year, State Farm claims from the LA fires would worsen its financial condition. Not a shocker there. A lot of homes got burned up, lots of payout, and potentially drive it out of California, where it's either canceled or refused to renew tens of thousands of policies. In May, State Farm received an unprecedented approval from the state. We talked about that in depth. They had to have a couple of hearings. They had to, do a bunch of stuff. All right, we'll give you this increase if you do this. I think there was provisions of not canceling more future policies in California, and just a bunch stuff. Stuff. All right, you do this, we'll do this. We'll help you out. You scratch our back, we'll scratch yours. Now, they were cutting a deal, right? How can we not have our biggest insurance company leave the state? Among the company's arguments during a public hearing was that its credit rating had been downgraded. Not a shocker. Lots in payout, not enough coming in. Not that hard to figure out, right? And that it's insolvency and that it's solvency, and therefore the policies of more than 1 million California homeowners were at real risk. So if there's any question about checks clearing. Kind of tells you where it's at, right? State Farm is facing lawsuits related to the fires, including complaints about its handling of smoke damage claims and allegations it systematically underinsured policyholders. In addition, California's insurance department last month opened a formal investigation into the company's handling of claims. You got that many claims, you're going to have some issues. And this was a huge, huge natural disaster, and you've had a bunch. I mean, this isn't exactly the first big wildfire that we've had in California. We got wildfires up in Canada. We got wildfires here in Washington. We got wildfires east of the mountains. And they come about just about every year. I think it was these are the first or the second year during the pandemic that I remember just a heavy layer of smoke from, I don't remember if that was California wildfires or if it was Canadian wildfires. I think it was California. Smoke had, made its way up to Washington State. It was terrible. I mean, that was rough on your throat. Feel like you just smoked a pack of Marlboro Reds. And you're like, oh, this isn't good. Literally, you didn't want to go outside, right? You're just like, nah, my eyes are burning. My throat's tickling. I'm going to run from my car to the grocery store. Good Lord, it's all dark outside. Got a bunch of stuff coming down in the air. Not good. Michael Soler, spokesperson for the insurance department, said the department is investigating this issue with McDonald's claims and State Farm. He would not comment about the check clearing delay. Of course not. Wouldn't want to have that. Insurance compliance officer with the department, who McDonald emailed yesterday about the delay, responded to her today and said that she has contacted State Farm and given the company 5 days to respond, according to an email seen by Cal Matters. Article goes on to say Michael Bedard, an attorney who has litigated insurance cases, said he has never heard of such an insurer's check bouncing either. But he's heard of insurers going insolvent. And I've heard the same thing. And that's why I wanted to read this story, because is this a primer for one of the biggest insurance companies out there? Is this an indication of we're at the end? All right. Or, they do actually pull out of California. But man, could you imagine the lawsuits? Yeah, lawsuits. And then nearly $900,000 in funds McDonald's waiting for coverage of her house and ranch. State Farm also issued her a check for $335,000 for the loss of contents on her property. What a nightmare. I mean, just the whole thing. And then, is the $900,000 in funds, is that going to cover the rebuild of her home? I mean, how do you know? I mean, you know what I mean? Just, does she have a bid lined up? Does she have all that stuff? And is that how, getting her? You don't know. Guarantee she doesn't. She hasn't pulled a permit, hasn't done any of that probably. But the insurance company is kind of like, well, you had this kind of home and we're paying out XYZ percentage of what we perceive to be the value of that home. Here you go. Here's your check. Good luck on rebuilding that home. But at least, that's going in the right direction. It's insurance company paying out because the house burned down. She deposited that check, the $335,000 check, in a different bank account. That check cleared. All right, because they've got that. All right, we're going from, what was it? I was going from Chase to B of A. And fortunately, at that point in time, there was enough money in the Chase account with State Farm. Let's take a look at Illinois. State Farm to raise Illinois homeowners insurance rates by 27.2% in August. That's an increase. As Texas grapples with the massive flooding, that was horrible. That Mystic Camp for girls. Oh, yeah, that struck hill country and killed at least 119 people during the 4th of July weekend. Many Illinois homeowners will soon see their home insurance rates skyrocket due to the increase in such extreme weather events. State Farm is raising homeowners insurance rates in Illinois by a whopping 27.2%. That's enormous. That's a huge increase. And yet we continually see these things happening, right? Increase here, increase there. And the insurance company's basically saying, we're insolvent. And if you got big cash flow problems, I'm inclined to kind of believe you. The rate hike, one of the largest in the state's history, will affect nearly 1.5 million policyholders. I'm actually surprised it is not more. What's the population of Chicago alone? You know, we always think of Illinois just being Chicago, right? There's so many other, little towns, cities, villages, burgs, whatever. New policyholders will pay the higher rates as of July 15th. All right, let's get a new policy. It's going to be what? That is insanity. In its filing, Bloomington, Illinois-based State Farm said the rate increase is driven by catastrophic losses related to extreme weather events in Illinois. Over the last several years, our catastrophe provision has proven to be inadequate when compared to our actual catastrophe loss experience. That is corporate doublespeak or insurance doublespeak for money coming in isn't equaling our ability to pay out. While there's volatility associated with extreme weather events, our Illinois catastrophe losses have exceeded the year's catastrophe provision in 13 of the last 15 years. That was the number, and I was like, I keep seeing these numbers. So, from their standpoint, hey, 13 out of 15, we got to bump our rates. Otherwise, this doesn't make sense. Signaling the provision used in rating has been insufficient in recent history, meaning they're not charging enough. They are not charging enough. State Farm spokesperson did not respond to a request for comment Wednesday. February, Northbrook, Illinois-based Allstate raised homeowners insurance by 14.3% for nearly 248,000 Illinois customers. Everything is just going to the moon, isn't it? Especially insurance. Insurance is on the hot seat. What is surprising, and, I do so many stories about this kind of thing, consumer stuff and policy gone sideways, things that government shouldn't be doing, crazy, harebrained Looney Tune ideas that get enacted with. So my biggest thought when I saw this article is, is this truly a one-off, or is this an indicator of things to come with insurance companies because they are so tight on funds because they are paying out literally into the billions on these big natural disasters? And it feels like there are more to come. I mean, it would be silly to think that over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, we're not going to have any more big natural disasters. We got a string of them coming, and odds are there's going to be a bunch more. That's just kind of how this goes. So at what point in time do our major insurance companies go, you know what? We either pull out or we get some federal funding up in here because we need billions, or what are the other options? Insurance rates just go, triple, quadruple, quintuple. I don't even know what's after that, but just literally go through the roof even more so than what's happening right now. Something's got to snap. Something will snap. And everybody needs insurance, whether it's car insurance, whether it's insurance for your house, whether it's health insurance. I mean, and all of these things are just, it seems like they're just spiraling out of control and out of control the wrong way. And we're expected to just kind of bend over and take it and go, all right, I'll just work a little bit more. So many people don't have that option. You're already tapped out. I'm on salary, I'm on whatever. And these expenses just keep coming. Just, one after another. And I don't know how a lot of folks are expected to make it. I don't. You know what I mean? That thought crosses my mind all of the time. There's a lot of folks out there not making enough money to make it go now, and things aren't going in the right direction. We're going in the wrong direction. You're not seeing any articles. You're not seeing me talk about, hey, you know what? I think insurance rates are going to go down. We're going to come down. Haven't had a lot of that. Maybe we're just on a cycle. I don't think so. But so much of this, the weather stuff doesn't seem like it's planned, but so much of this other stuff, it feels like this is orchestrated. Like somebody's back there doing the puppeteer deal, right? All right. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. Love to have you subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you on the next episode. Bye for now.